Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury.
Electrifying.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Podcast. Had a bit of a nightmare this evening with technology, so please enjoy not the first 10 minutes or so, but the back end of TCP Live, ranking every single Arsenal transfer link. Whatever. Anyway, at the top, depends on money. At the bottom, doesn't depend on money. Over to the right, get it done. Over to the left, absolutely not. And we have every single Arsenal transfer link I can find. Although I'm going to find some. I've done as many as I can do, but let me know if there's any more that you want us to do. I'm going to position. I don't know why Rafael's already on there. It's a slightly bizarre thing. We're going to position every single transfer link somewhere here. So, for example, somewhere up here would be I would love the player, but it's going to depend on the money. Someone down here would be, people know this, I'm just explaining. Someone down here would be absolutely not, and even if it was offered to me for free, I wouldn't take him. Hope that makes sense to you all.
Makes perfect sense.
Perfect sense.
Yeah. So I'd shift it up, and then I would move it a little bit to the right.
About here?
There, yeah, around about there.
Okay.
No, I'd put it higher up. On depends on money.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Where would you put it?
I really like layout. Just objectively, like my type of winger. I think I've said this before. Like just the players that I like to watch, like physically. We're watching Nico Williams today, and just players like that who can move you in that way and have that intensity about them. Milan fans that I speak to don't like him.
Yeah.
So I get a bit of a kind of bad vibe off him to some degree. Like I feel like there's a lot of like. I think the people closer to him are always like, yes, he's very, very talented, but there's like concerns about him.
Yeah, I think he's stagnated since they won the Scudetto, which he was the main man there, the MVP in an attacking sense. But since then, we've seen, I'd say, a player. There's an argument in which the environment has not allowed him to flourish since then. But I think ultimately, he is a player who has stagnated, and I think there's a lot of doubts over specific things in which we demand from our players that I'm not exactly sure Leao would give in terms of that out of possession work. And I do think that is important. I maintain that. And I just think that I'm a little bit more of, I'm focusing more on other players. I think it's, again, a lot of risk involved in it. Although the upside, I'd say, is massive. And I think he's, for me, someone who I like as well in terms of a profile of a winger, in terms of that, 6 foot plus, dominant, over big spaces, leggy, the Barcola types, the Omri's transitioning to centre forward as well. I love those players, but I think with Leao, there's a lot of concerns over the past couple of years, I'd say. But that's coming from someone who hasn't watched loads of him. And it's a little bit more of like not a strong and confident opinion.
But... No, I hear you. No, you and I have watched thousands of minutes of every single player here for sure. I have watched a bit more of Leao, to be fair. The out of possession stuff I do hear, but equally, like, I'm looking at a Premier League where Man City are signing Shirky, we're getting Kirkes and Frimpong or whatever. Like, I think there might be a world in which teams are kind of taking that. If we can get 5% better in possession and have 10 more, game-changing moments from a player, can I accept a 3% drop-off in defensive contribution? Basically, I think it is maybe the thinking. I don't know, but
I think City are getting a lot of praise for the business that they've done, especially with the money involved with some of the signings of Cherky, Reinders, and Aït-Nouri. But I think the way I look at it right now is a lot of the emphasis you've alluded to, in possession quality, fantastic. But off the ball, there's a lot of question marks there. And then when you consider the fact that you've got a Rodri coming on the back of an ACL, you've got Gvardiol and Diaz.
Timber was off the back of an ACL as well.
Absolutely. And so was Leah Williamson and the Beth Mead. And but I think for me, there's so much emphasis there in possession. And I feel like Man City are going to be fantastic to watch. But I think when you look at the Premier League and you look at what is prevalent amongst all the teams in the league, it is that physical power and the ability in transition. And that is something I think I don't see City withstanding with what they're doing so far. Because when I look at their team and their construction of it, Ain't Nuri, again, fantastic going forward. Off the ball, a liability. Reinders I've not watched much of. Cherky's a luxury baller, right? You've got Rodri, like I've alluded to, coming on the back of an ACL. You've got a centre-back partnership of Ruben Diaz, who I think has fallen away a bit towards the back end of the season. And I don't think he's had a particularly good season anyway. Gvardiol there. I think there's a lot of concerns there in terms of how they're going to be able to cope with teams off the ball. I think they're going to be fantastic to watch, but I think there's concerns there, especially with where the league is going and how the league has shaped up with the power of the mid-table teams, but also towards the bottom end of the table, in terms of the legs that they have. And I think the Liverpool as well, again, it's really exciting, the likes of Florian Wirtz and with Kirkes likely to come in and Frimpong. And again, there's a lot of emphasis in terms of going forward. But I think those types of players and the way that I'm looking at Liverpool's construction, their forward line and how they're attacking, I think they need a Declan Rice type of midfielder in there to complement a Gravenberch or a McAllister.
Yeah.
And that's where I think, yes, they're doing this. This seems really good business they're doing there, and they deserve credit for it for sure, City, especially with the value. But I feel like we're not looking a little bit too much. We're not looking at all in terms of what is there off the ball and the lack of it with some of these signings.
Yeah, and so maybe that kind of brings us back to the hour a little bit, and it's like, can we? I have this thing at the minute of like, okay, how do you innovate and how do you compete? And those are two for the top clubs. You've got to compete with what's how the league is trending and who's changing around you, but you've also got to find your own way of doing it. And maybe there is a kind of move to a slightly more, okay, as I say, like, we're willing to take a little bit more risk, essentially, because I feel like the Premier League has generally been a little bit more risk averse, sort of teams in general, and the teams who've taken more risks, let's say the Nottingham Forests and the Bournemouths and the Fulhams, are relative to their quality and sort of level, are kind of reaping a bit more rewards. So maybe that's the lesson that Pep and Slot are taking. And I do just look at Arsenal, and maybe, which is why I'd put it maybe more like here, just slightly further along. I really like the player. I like certain players more. I think against certain low block situations, he's actually, for me, a much bigger space player. Like, if you give him like big yards to stretch into, he's going to kill you. And if I'm saying that about Gyökeres and I'm going, well, how does that translate? Then I have to be fair.
Yeah. But the point you made there, about like Forest and Bournemouth and the risks they're taking, but look at the types of players they have and look at the way they attack. Look at the power they have in their team.
Yeah.
For example, Forest with Gibbs White, Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, and then Bournemouth with, Semenyo, Atara, Evan Nilsson. Then, they've got a lot of strong carriers there who give them that power. And that's why I'm thinking, like, yes, it seems that there's an evolution here. Football goes in cycles. It's like anything in life, right? You start with something, you go to something else, then you come back to where you started, because what you started with counters what is now present in in what you're dealing with. And it's the same with football. It's like overlapping fullbacks, inside fullbacks, out and out touchline wingers who are playing on their strong foot, inverted wingers, etc. It's to combat different things. And I feel like with Man City, again, I just feel like the way I look at other teams, the way I see how other teams play, you mentioned Forest and Bournemouth, I think there's question marks there. But maybe they're perhaps looking to blow teams out of the water with what they have on the ball. And
I can't call it, really. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't want to call it now. I think we'll probably end up in the same way that we had, like, everyone's moving to 4 centre-backs. We'll have some kind of version of that. Everyone's moving to wing-backs, or everyone's moving to out-and-out pace demons. On, traditional wingers are back. Whatever. There'll be something that people say. It looks like something to the fullbacks to me. But yeah, then it's competing and innovating, and I don't know how exactly we keep up with that. But I think with Leao, I think the power conversation certainly is why I push him further up. However, whether you agree, disagree with anything you or I have said, I think we're all saying the Premier League is going more powerful, more repeat sprints, more running, and Leao would thrive in that sort of situation. So yeah, that's probably why I push him a little bit further up. Super chat from My Easy, who says, dream Eze in as a left wing and Martinelli the hell out. Let's do Eze, shall we? Where is he? Mr. Eberiche Eze. Rohan, I'll give you first dibs on this one. Whereabouts do you put Eze?
again, I'd put him in a similar camp to Liao. I'd put him around the same area. I really like Eze, and I've been of the opinion where, now, I don't know where you sit on this, but when you consider how a team plays and a manager's style, I heavily disagree on the idea of using the system to define them. It's like Thomas Frank, for example. If you look at Thomas Frank, the previous campaign to last year, what did we know of Thomas Frank from a system point of view? The back three, right? Back three moving to back five off the ball. Last season, they transitioned throughout the entirety of the campaign playing a back four. So the system changed, but did their intentions, their mindset, and the way they play change? No, they kept to the principles of Thomas Frank in terms of man-to-man pressing, high energy, long balls, being direct, set-piece innovations, throw-ins, etc. You name it. They did all these things, but they changed the system. So what I mean by this is, right now, when you look at Arsenal's left wing and you interpret that role, it doesn't fit an Eze to a T, in my opinion, right? But that doesn't mean that you should not look at these types of players because they don't fit into the system, right? You can change the dynamics of certain things if the quality warrants it, whilst maintaining the principles of play. And that's why I think with someone like Eze, again, it's going to be very similar to Rodrigo, where it's these wing midfielder type players, right? Where you start wide, allow them to come inside, allow players to combine with them within close proximity, and that's where they thrive. I think someone like Eze, if you give him that environment, he'll do very well at Arsenal, and I think he'd give us a lot of quality through that left-hand side. When, like, the most recent comparison that we have from an Arsenal point of view is, and I mentioned it many times, is the Smith Rowe and the Tierney dynamic from the left-hand side. You could do that. So I really want us to not just think of this idea of, we need to recruit a touchline left winger. That is the only type of player we go. Because if you start to think like that, you then remove yourself from a lot of players who are available potentially on the market, who have the quality. All you need to do is change a few things.
I would agree.
That player warrants the change.
I would agree. And I think a lot of the, I can't see Eze at Arsenal. Yeah. Whether you like him or not, you have to remove the, but is it because you can't currently see him playing Martinelli's role? It's like, well, no one can. So could we be different? My position is this, and I'm curious on your take. Look, we have a creativity issue at Arsenal. Like, I think the final numbers, whether it's assists or goals or XG or whatever you want to, the really basic stats tell you what the issue is, right? And then it comes to solutions. Okay, how do you solve that? Okay, I think a lot of people would go with an Eze, would go with and I get it. I think Faisal Latifum is someone who would do this, who would say, like, I would replace, I think we know who he's talking about. I would replace our playmakers with, or certainly challenge them at least, with a better playmaker. I view it slightly differently. I think with Zubimendi coming in, I think with adding pace, with adding tempo with Zubimendi, with adding more central passing with Zubimendi, with adding more line sort of passes through the block with Zubimendi, plus the impact on Odegaard that's going to have, plus the impact on Saka. If we get a proper, I would say, left winger who, if it's Rodrigo, then we need to platform him, but whatever, a different sort of system there, we're going to have a very different conversation about creativity. I would much rather almost pull the I don't know what they're called, the bits on the tent. Have you ever put up a tent?
Yeah, it's the pegs.
The pegs on that. I'd rather pull all the pegs on the tent out rather than get a new pole, if that makes sense. Yeah. And because I think our pole at the minute is being diminished by all the other problems, Martin Odegaard. I'd rather give the pole a little bit more time, a bit more space, and say, let me give you some runners, let me give you a bit more space, Absolutely. Let me give you a little bit less middle third sort of responsibility before I go and spend £100 million on replacing you. So that's my position on Eze. I think he would be in my conversation if we were to replace him. But for me right now, I actually put him weirdly here because that's not the way I'd go. But actually, I think for the price, I think £60 million release clause. That's amazing, or something. It's around there. So for me,
then surely you'd put it a little bit closer to get it done. Then no,
possibly, yeah, okay. Yeah, but just in terms of that's not personally where I'd go. But we also have to find a compromise. So where would you go?
I like I said, I think it does depend on what are we talking strictly on the release clause of 60 million?
Well, 60 million if you could negotiate that and to amortize it and stuff. I don't know, but
I'd if you're telling me 60 million, I'd be moving it slightly more to the right. The only reason I wouldn't put it fully is because there's someone else I really like.
Yeah, I hear that. Let's go for new link, Jarell Hato.
Right, I've got a bit of a rant.
Go on. Is this your Mikel does innovate, and then you talk us through every single iteration of Arsenal?
Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to get put at blue is because I could actually go through these long rants, and I didn't all want to.
Right, here we go.
But no, but it's not about.
I'm gonna go make a cup of tea.
No, I'm not doing that. No, but what I'm saying is like, all right, Jarell Hato. I watched a bit of him last season. Did a few rewatches after we were linked, and this was before we signed Calafiori, where it was effectively going to be either a Hato or a Calafiori. And I think there was an Athletic article that specified that as well. Again, really, really strong talent. I loved what I saw. I need to refresh my memory, but I know the type of player he is. Now, Jarell Hato, we signed Jarell Hato, right? We still have the list of players that we need and profiles with him coming in. So that's where I'm looking at it thinking, I'm moving it more towards absolutely not. And in that depends on money category, because it doesn't solve the issues that we currently have in the team. And that's why I'd go there. I wouldn't go all the way in, because the talent like that is one that you certainly have to look at. But I'm thinking from a squad construction point of view, who we have on the left-hand side, I want someone who is going to be a bit more dynamic, who is going to be more of a Kieran Tierney-esque in the final third, if we're going along that route of a left-back and, hybrid left centre-back, left-back, which is what we can consider Jarell Hato. And that doesn't fit the issues that we currently have and what I'm looking to address. And that's why I think it's not something that I understand.
I hear that. I tend to agree. The only thing I'd push back on slightly, and I'd maybe push him more like here, is, this, because I am on the side of certainly without a sale. Let's put it this way, and we can't.
Yeah, without a sale.
If we say we sell Kivio, I think we're having a different conversation.
Yes,
but right now, for what we need, I do agree. I'd just push it back just because of the talent, and also because it's difficult again if we're talking about Eze and saying, what is he at Arsenal, what is he at Crystal Palace, and what is our role and stuff. Things can shift. I don't know how we view Calafiori, Miles, Zinchenko hasn't gone yet. I don't know how we view Jarell Hato, and I'm not saying that we'd view any of those guys as consistent overlappers. But Ben White, I mean, we say he's an overlapping fullback. Actually, how many runs, like proper overlapping runs, does he do a game? Like per game when he plays at his peak?
No, I'd move him more. I think Ben White's he's kind of like a different breed, though, isn't he? Where
but he's not. My point with Ben White is he's not Frimpong. Is my point. So it's for me, it's much more about repeat sprintability and recognizing when the sprint comes. And so I don't look at any one of Hato and Miles and Calafiori and say, well, definitely that's the sort of, the perfect left side of Ben White. But equally, I didn't look at Ben White in 2021 and think, oh yeah, that's where you're going to go. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but what I'm saying is there is a there's changeability potentially, which is why I just push it further.
Yeah, my point with it is like, when I talk about Kieran Tierney, I'm not saying a player exactly like Kieran Tierney. I'm saying a player in which, when you consider their attributes, can they give you consistent quality out wide in the final third?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. You recruit a Kieran Tierney type, right? You then leave yourself vulnerable in other areas, because Kieran Tierney, unfortunately, the reason why the squad did evolve from him is because he couldn't give us the qualities in deeper areas, right?
Yeah.
So I'm talking about someone in which to look at Jarell Hato, and his best work is done deeper. Right, his best work isn't done higher up the pitch, and that is something, when I'm looking at that left-hand side, that's what it needs if we're looking to go into the market within that area. And that's why I think when you draw up the list that you had before the season, when we're talking about our backline, it is a right centre-back for me because of the situation with William Saliba being in the red zone, in my opinion, and a left-back to complement the left-hand side, who's going to give us more of that quality on the outside in the final third. Jarell Hato doesn't do that. And he doesn't solve the William Saliba situation as well. So we're spending money on something that isn't going to extract that level that we need to hit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, the problems that we have, it's staring at our faces.
Yeah.
Jarell Hato he will improve us in certain things for sure.
Yeah.
But it's not the driver, is it?
Yeah. It's like, it's like paying, I don't know, let's say Madrid weren't in the race. And we signed, or let's say we overpaid 80 million for Huijsen. It's like, Okay, but like, come on, like, let's look at what we really, really, really need. Let's move on to Antoine Semenyo. Actually, before we do that, any disagreement from the chat so far? Any you feel that we've
We're doing serious content now.
Oh, it's serious. None of this rubbish. Actually, do you know what we'll do? Because we haven't done it.
Thumbnail check.
Thumbnail check.
See
we
that?
didn't do it. 40, your time is now. Right, how do I get rid of this? Stop screen share, I think. Yep, there we. Oh, look at this.
You're a natural.
Absolutely disgusting. Can you see that? That. Yes. There we go.
That's a lot of detail.
There's a lot of detail here on Thumbnail Check this week, guys. Get it done. He's put Gyökeres and Garnacho in there, and I think that I hope, Forder, that is a joke. Maybe Rodrigo and Hato. Nah, Nico Williams and Morgan Rogers, and woke nonsense Šeško and Semenyo. Yeah, fair enough. Nice coat from Stan. Very nice coat. There's me as Josh Kroenke, looking terrifying. Where's the hidden Rohan?
Oh, is that? No, that's not for.
Is it this? No, not in the Starbucks. Is it over here somewhere?
I think it might be in a pocket. Are there any pockets in that coat?
Yeah. Maybe. There it is.
Oh, good pick out. That's great.
There it is. In Stan's glasses. Very, very good, Forder. Very good. I'm giving that. Chat, what we saying? I'm giving that a
9.
You give it a 9?
Yeah. It's a lot of detail.
I'm giving it an 8.5.
See, you're a hater.
Right,
you're a draw hater.
You've never given anything a 10. Even when Forder was in the hospital.
I did give him a 10.
Even when Forder was in the hospital, I had to beg you to give him a 10.
You are not doing this. I gave him a 10.
I had to beg you to give him a 10. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Right, look, what is this? Hang on. Oh, wrong side. Right, we're going back.
How much fun are you having right now?
No, I am enjoying this, to be fair. See? I was stressed at the top of the stream.
You are, I could tell.
Look at this! There we go. Right. Okay. Semenyo.
Yeah. Do him first.
Well, I was going to say to the chat, is there anyone that we disagreed on?
I saw one that was a disagreement on Hato. I think it was... Who was it?
I don't like the way Hato looks. Okay.
It's very nice, isn't it?
All right.
I can't even find it. This chat's going too quickly now for me.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Semenyo.
Go for it.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go because of the money.
So you're really big on Semenyo?
I'm big on Semenyo, but can I put him past Rafael?
He gave me a bit of an ick towards the second half of the season. Like some proper...
He's very exciting in the carry.
Some Timberland boots touches at times in the second half of the season.
He's very exciting. If he's paired with... Well, to be honest, if he was paired with Isak, Semenyo and Šeško, would I be okay with that summer? Yeah, I think I'd be okay.
Maybe there's some recency bias, but I was genuinely put off with a lot of the stuff I saw in the second half of the season. I watched quite a bit of Semenyo as well. Not like watching him closely, but
yeah.
Like I remember. Do you remember? Again, this is like an isolated moment. Do you remember the build-up to the goal they scored with Huijsen with the long throw from Semenyo? Semenyo was through on goal and he was like set, and then there's like one massive touch that just allows Kivior to come across. For goodness me.
Yeah, but like he just takes
what
a lot of shots. He's so powerful.
He's so powerful.
I can see
great
him
off both feet.
Both feet. Like he's again. It's what we need. It's not necessarily the best player.
I'm going to keep him near Liao because I don't.
Jesse celebrates 13 months of membership. Fresh trim row and great volume in those curls, Alex. Thank you so much.
Oh, So very nice.
That's a very nice comment. Thank you so much, Jesse. I can't.
So this is like on StreamYard, you know, when it goes like green.
Yeah.
We're cooking now.
We're cooking. I can't put him ahead of Layout. It just wouldn't be as exciting. I think theirs okay, because I think it does depend a bit more. I think Bournemouth would command quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, but I'd be up for it. I just wouldn't be as up for it as others.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm with you.
I think he's there. But to be honest, this will be slightly relative. Oliver Watkins.
Right.
Go on, sir.
It's going very much to the right for me. Keep moving it. Well, yeah. Keep moving it. Keep moving it. Keep moving it. And then a little bit above, because it does depend on the money.
There?
Bit more. Yeah, there. Maybe a little bit to the left.
It's not going to be expensive.
True, but I'm thinking of like if it is expensive.
Yes, but I suppose that doesn't depend on the money. It's like the money's not going to prohibit this deal. There's others that it would. Like I would happily. They're just not going to charge us.
Okay, fair
60 mil.
But the point is that we're moving him to the right as opposed to the left, right? Yeah. That's the overarching theme. I know people won't like this. I think people will disagree with this a lot, but Ollie Watkins, go and look at what he has been doing for Aston Villa season out, in terms of the productivity, in terms of the all-round play. He misses chances, but all top strikers miss chances, right? He missed a lot of big chances last season, to be fair. But I think Ollie Watkins, when you talk about transferable qualities, when you're talking about a guaranteed hit, if Ollie Watkins came to Arsenal tomorrow and he played 33 Premier League games, started 33 Premier League games, I would be shocked if he didn't get close to 17, 18 goals.
I agree.
I'd be shocked. And that's all you need to know about him, because everyone knows what Ollie Watkins is capable of. When we talk about centre-backs, let's look at centre-backs over the last few years that Ollie Watkins has had success against. Gabriel, Saliba, Konate, Van Dijk. These are all the top. Ruben Diaz. These are all the top centre-backs that we allude to in the league that Ollie Watkins has had significant success against. You know, range of different finishes. His trademark finish is when he stands a centre-back, 1v1, a little bit wider in the box, takes it on the outside and finishes it to the far post. Saw it for England against Holland. It's his trademark finish. But that's just one of many finishes he has. Like against Bournemouth at the near post, do you remember that one? Towards the back end of the season. Just a small glancing finish towards the far post. He's a top player. And this idea in which he's washed, I really, really push back on it. I think there's a lot of recency bias of Ollie Watkins as well, because I didn't watch it because I was watching the Arsenal-Southampton game, but against Man United, he was apparently really poor. And I think the age thing comes into this a lot. And like the nominal resale value of Ollie Watkins is not going to be worth much when we sell him. But what about the impact Ollie Watkins can have in terms of getting Arsenal close to the Premier League and the Champions League, and the financial incentives that come with that?
Yeah. So, I think there's people. Do you know what's annoying? If Ollie Watkins was 21, he would be like the perfect signing in so many ways.
But then that should be fine, then, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
Like the age shouldn't matter.
Well, yeah, especially for this project. Yeah. I think it's just the fact that he can't maybe necessarily. I don't know if he's going to necessarily go and score us.
I think he would.
I don't know. As in is Ollie Watkins ever going to be the best centre forward in the world? I don't know. But equally, do we need him to be that? And I think someone made a good point as well. Realistically, Watkins' top level career started when he was. Hang on.
Yeah, he started late.
So he got to Brentford in 2017. So what's that? 8 years ago, right? So he realistically started at 21. He was at Exeter and Buckland Athletic and whatever. And in terms of in the Premier League, he's only been here for 5 years. he's not got many miles in the tank. And I do think he'd be all right till probably 33, 34, like physically. Feels like that sort of player. I really like it. The problem with Watkins is you sign Watkins, it feels like overkill to get Šeško. If you just get Šeško, I think you need a bit more. Maybe you play him left.
Okay.
I don't know.
Right. Watkins and Rodrigo. That's who we get.
But then you miss out on Šeško.
Yeah.
Are you happy to?
The thing is like I'd bet good money that Ollie Watkins would have a more profound impact right now for Arsenal than Šeško. Although Šeško, I've said it many times, people know Šeško's upside is ridiculous. I think his
it's the thing
his upside and what he will become. But if we're talking about, right, you want to win now, you want guaranteed output, and that's something that everyone is referring to. Ollie Watkins is going to guarantee more than that right now than Benjamin Šeško.
Yeah, but then but you have to think about the long-term future.
Absolutely. So that's why I would go with Šeško and Rodrigo, because I sit in the camp of always in which you've got to pursue talent, and you've got to look at the long-term future of the football club and where Arsenal going to be in the next couple of years as well. It's not Arsenal need to win now, right, for the project and for the players that we have at our disposal. Otherwise, players will start to leave. But at the same time, poor squad planning can lead to poor futures. And that's why I think Šeško. I'm willing to buy the time with Šeško, but I have a feeling with a lot of people is that they haven't watched Šeško, and I think they're expecting like this guaranteed hit right now, which he's not, and that can lead to frustration. Whereas I think Watkins wouldn't necessarily lead to that level of frustration. I think than a Šeško.
No, I agree. I think I find the Watkins thing really hard because it's like if you're signing a striker, let's say for £40 million, he's got to play, and to get Watkins in, you got to play him. Then that means we probably wouldn't get Šeško.
Yeah, you wouldn't get a Šeško.
Anyone else? Yeah, so.
Oh yeah, you would not get a Šeško. Forget about that. Like, it's one striker coming in.
And that's the thing. And if I just think about combinations that I like, I am pretty tied to this Šeško Rodrigo thing. Just makes so much sense to me.
Okay.
And maybe I'll be okay without Ollie Watkins. Let's leave him there. Benjamin Šeško. For me, slightly depends on the money. If they're going to pull our pants down, then fair enough. But I think for me, that's just about there. It's just ahead of Watkins, because I just think like.
Yeah.
When a talent who is, there's no sure thing in football, but like when and actually weirdly, like sometimes when you watch a player, you're like you have the headline. It's like, oh, he's really highly touted prospect or whatever. You go, oh great. And you start watching him, you go, the more I watch him, the more sure I am he's going to bang.
Yeah, he's going to bang, mate.
And
so
that depends on the price, but yeah, it's ahead.
Yep. I mean, I think I sit a little bit differently to both you and George in terms of like, we need to sign players who guarantee output now from the get-go. And that's something like obviously Ollie Watkins will give, and that's why I'm very keen on him. But at the same time, I'm always about investing in talent and not allowing that talent to become difficult come a year or 2 years' time, as we saw with Alexander Isak.
Speaking of investing, Jamie Clark. A whole £1, mate. You're giving away your CannonPod fee.
Jamie, is that Jamie?
Two more of those, Jamie, and you pay me back.
But yeah,
I don't pay my contributors £3. Thank you.
But yeah, I've said it with Benjamin Šeško. Like I invest in. I like clubs investing in the talent, and that's why I've been frustrated with Arsenal not bringing in more talent. With Edu here and us not tapping into that South American market enough. Benjamin Šeško, like I say. 2 years' time, I'd say 12 to 18 months, we're looking at Benjamin Šeško as a player who becomes one of the most dominant centre forwards in the world. Like I believe in him that much, unless injuries dictate.
I think basically, if Šeško just becomes prohibitive for whatever reason, or say the left wing situation is like dire, and we need a guarantee right now, that's when I'd move for Ollie Watkins. But
put it this way: if
an ideal world, I'd go for Rodrigo and Šeško.
The reason why I'd move Šeško a little bit higher depends on the money, because, like I said, I don't want us to get fleeced and it becoming excessive, like ridiculous. If Šeško doesn't happen, Arsenal need to do everything they can to get Ollie Watkins. I'll I'll maintain that. Like,
I don't pay people £3 for a podcast. That was a joke. How much do you get paid, Ryan? Don't answer that. Rodrigo.
Yeah, around about there. I think you can't just put him into that doesn't depend on money category.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it's yeah, but like also.
Oh, sorry, no. I meant the other way around. I meant like
it does a bit, but like for example, if we paid 100 million and if we paid 70 million, I'd be all right with both. Which tells you something. There's a huge range of fee I'd be willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, he's certainly the one I want. Like, I've watched quite a bit of him now.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to the left-hand side, right? I said this yesterday. So Rodrigo, you put him into our team tomorrow, and you don't change anything, Rodrigo is going to have a bigger impact than Martinelli and Trossard, hands down. But then you have to ask yourself the question, right? Is that the right way to use Rodrigo?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that's why I'm an advocate for change. And this is where it goes back to that.
I don't care anymore. Just get it done. I don't care.
Okay, what, 200 million?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, put it back there.
So serious. Serious all the time.
But like, going back to the point, like it goes back to, when you limit yourself with the mindset of Arsenal need an out and out touchline 1v1 specialist left winger, you remove yourself from the Rodrigo types. It's not to say Rodrigo can't give Arsenal that. It's a case of, does that get the best out of Rodrigo, who is a stellar name, who's a star? No.
Yeah.
So alter the dynamics, because if you do that, it allows the talent to showcase his qualities, and those qualities can lead to really big numbers.
Showcase. You're right, though. You're right.
Yeah.
Victor Gyökeres.
I'll let you take this one. I've still not watched enough. I say I've not watched enough. I've watched nothing.
Okay, it does depend on money to some degree, because if he's like 50 million or like 30 million or 40 million, then we're talking. I'm gonna go. I have to be fair. I'm gonna go here. I don't think Gyökeres is like a disaster if it happens. Actually, do you know what? I might even go a little bit higher. I don't think it's a disaster if it happens. I just don't think it moves any needles for us. I think my base feeling with Gyökeres is it takes away some problems and adds others. So we basically stay in the same place, is what I feel. Yeah. There was some numbers out today I saw. Let me see if I can find them on the fly. There's some Portuguese league teams that opt to think are worse than League One teams. Yeah, this was it.
Oh, I saw that.
On the topic of comparing different leagues, this is interesting, and as an odds analyst, they rank the Portuguese top flight below the Championship and Belgian League, and say that 11 of 18 teams in Portugal, 11 of 18 teams are at a similar level to League One. This is my point about Portugal. I'm not bringing it up because it's like, I just want to poo on the player.
I'm interested what metrics they use.
And when half of your goals are penalties as well, and I've never seen you score a header, I have to ask questions. I have to. Sorry.
I also think the heading thing is very important, because when you look at the way that we play and you look at some of our chance creation methods, when you're talking about that half space cross coming inside, you need someone who's good aerially.
Yeah.
And that's why Mikel Merino has had a lot of success higher up the pitch.
And again, to be fair, maybe as we said earlier, maybe Arsenal's style changes, and maybe we become more transitional, and maybe we look for more of a poacher in the box, and maybe we don't need a head. Maybe we use him with Havertz in a 2, and maybe that could work. Maybe. But for the things we know right now, no.
And that won't happen. I'll tell you that. Like, there will be incremental changes. There won't be a significant change in terms of how Arsenal create in certain ways. Like, I think heading is very important. And if you're telling me like what people have been saying, he's not very good aerially, that's a concern for me personally. So yeah.
By the way, just to say, it is interesting, and this is such like a no one cares other than the people who were involved, but the scouted George and I did. I remember putting out, just go back and look at the comments on that video at the time, because this was probably March, April time. Go back and look at the comments on that video. I promise you, if we put that video out now, it would be completely different. And this is what I'm saying about players. They become an idea. People don't like actually connect necessarily with who the player is. They become this, and they become like it was at the time where we'd fallen away in the title race and whatever, and everyone's going, what? And you're trying to rationalize it. And it's just, yeah, I think people would have a very, very different response now. Nico Williams, someone that there is a scouted of coming out tomorrow. So I watched him this afternoon. Do you want to go?
I've watched a lot of Nico Williams recently. Okay, so it depends on money, and I'd move him further to the right than Liao. So, but Sesko's more, so it's kind of like a bit more. Maybe move Sesko a little bit to the right now.
Yeah, I'd go like here.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I'm more than happy for that. Yeah. But I think with Nico Williams, I've watched him a lot now, and I did a little fact file thing on Twitter as well, on all the things that I thought. Diamond in the rough, right? Who does not warrant the reported wages that are being consistently shown, right? That is where I stand with Nico Williams. Before, I actually thought he was a lot more refined, but then when I watched the games consistently, both for Bilbao and for Spain, I see a lot of areas of improvement. And when I look at the number of areas he needs to improve on, I'm sorry, you don't warrant that sort of wage. This, irrespective of you having a profound impact for Spain in their Euros campaign. Like, that doesn't sit well with me. 350k a week is reported, right? That is a player. Players of that wage should be guaranteed from the get-go. Bang, bang, bang. Williams will not do that. What's Williams really good at, right? So when you look at the way that Arsenal play right now and the left wing role and the way it's interpreted, it's actually tailor-made for him, I'd argue. Like, perfect for him in terms of isolated situations and being able to pull plays with your gravity, etc. He's fantastic at that. But again, there's a lot of unrefined areas within his game in terms of his final third decision making, his crossing, right? The thing with Nico Williams, it's really frustrating because he has every pass in the locker, like every single pass. His creative potential is really high, but it's the inconsistency that really frustrates me because, like, you can do this, you can perform so much better than this, but you're just not doing it. Like some of these crosses with his weaker foot going for corners, and again, overhit crosses when he's coming inside. And I also think 1v1, physically, he should be a lot stronger. I don't know if you agree with this, but for Bilbao, what they do is when they go long, and again, Bilbao, I think it's very difficult to judge Nico Williams because the way they play doesn't really fulfill the qualities of a Nico Williams and a team that isn't possession-based orientated. What they do is they go long towards his brother, and then Nico Williams will look to win the flick on and run in behind. They don't go straight to him because he's not able to pin players back to goal. And also, when he's receiving it on the ground as well, I think Nico Williams at times, he has this tendency where if the ball gets away from him and he allows his marker to step in, he's not the strongest in being able to win that duel. You imagine Saka, what's so good about Saka is the way he pins defenders, and even if the ball gets away from him slightly, he can get his body across and he can win that battle. You know, so that's just a few things that he struggles with. But as a talent and as the vast array of qualities he has, his creative potential is ridiculous, I think, for me. Especially when you look at him, what he's developed with Cucurella for Spain, a really good partnership. But there's a lot of areas I think he'll frustrate you. The last thing I want to point is his passing sometimes. Like, again, as I alluded to, he's got every single pass in his locker, I'd say, as a creative winger. But sometimes his passing into central areas is so careless, selling players short and leading to vulnerable scenarios in transition. So yeah, that I know that's a lot there, but
it's lots to digest, as someone might say.
Lots to digest, but yeah, there's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives.
Yeah.
But my overarching feeling is because of the negatives that I've put on the table, for you to then be demanding a wage of that significant doesn't sit right with me. Like, if you drop your wage demands, mate, I'd put him just. I'd argue there's a good case for him being alongside of Rodrigo, genuinely. So that's where I stand.
I've got specific stuff that will come out on the Scout tomorrow. So check that out because there's some really and you brought out some really specific stuff, but George has got some great stuff, and we went through and sort of spoke about the fundamental flaws in his game and what they are specifically and how they could fix them. The one thing I'll say is this: because of the Bilbao situation, this is not meant as a critique on the guy. This is a critique on the player. He's got a bit of main character energy, Nico Williams. He wants to shoot. When he crosses the halfway line, he's the one who's barreling through. And like I think his creative passing is great, but sometimes I think he's taken something like 58 shots or something in La Liga and got like 4 XG off them or something. It's like he's taking some pretty speculative, like his decision making in that sense is not amazing. And what I feel though, if you could blow that out and have that kind of superstar main character energy and that works, that's what I want. And I love that. And some of his dribbling and his sort of his intent and belief in himself, I love, and I want that at Arsenal. But he's not ready yet. He's not like it. The bark doesn't match the bite. And but yeah, we'll talk more specifically about that on the Scouted. However, if we signed him, I'd be really excited because if we are signing him, clearly we believe those issues are coachable, and we have come to some kind of agreement with his wages because he has, when he's dribbling, mate, he's in flow state. This guy, like he's really like, you know, I think he's better than Gittins. That's one, and or certainly on a level with Gittins, dribbling wise in different ways. And that's, I think, his best trait. Morgan Rogers. For me, I'm going to put this here. And the reason why, I love Morgan Rogers. I absolutely love the player. So me saying no to Morgan Rogers is and pretty much all the links, it's usually because we just don't need it. No. Think about how this would function. What are we when people say Morgan Rogers, bring, what are you saying? You're thinking about him charging through the middle of the pitch, aren't you? That's what you're thinking about. You're thinking about running power, and you're thinking about that sort of quality, and maybe some of the goal scoring as well. The goal scoring we're using elsewhere, and the carries and the access to the centre of the pitch, I truly believe will come as Zubimendi. And if we wanted carriers, if Mikel was going to use carriers, this is another thing about it. If Mikel was going to use carriers, we have Declan Rice, we have Miles Lewis-Skelly, we have players already who are able to, like Calafiori, who are able to carry through the centre of the pitch. Morgan Rogers is fantastic, but I just think it's a massive redundancy, in my opinion, in terms of the very best qualities of Morgan Rogers. Unless you're going to play him out wide, unless you're going to do something different with him, for the cost it would be, and that's another part of this. For whatever Villa would, I think even with their PSR situation, there's a jewel in the crown aspect to Morgan Rogers that I think they wouldn't want to let go. I think it'd be a lot of money for a player who would improve us, but where's he going to go? Is he going to be in place of Ødegaard? Is he going to be in place of Declan Rice? Don't know. So not for me.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Gerard Hayter, and for me, the big thing, the only thing I'd say about Declan Rice and Morgan Rogers is like Morgan Rogers between the lines in terms of receiving in tight spaces back to goal, he's far better than Rice, in terms of being able to evade pressure and turn and open the game up. Over long distances, for sure, when the game is stretched, that's where Declan Rice is fantastic. So is Morgan Rogers. But again, I look at what Miles and Ethan have done. I think Miles and Ethan, for me, has changed my mindset on these types of players, the likes of Morgan Rogers. And that's why I'm not overly big on it. Top player. But again, when I look at the list that I had before the season, after the season finished and what I wanted Arsenal to look at, that list remains the same, even when you bring a Morgan Rogers in. So it's like Gerard Hayter for me.
That's how I feel. It's no slight on the player, brilliant player. It just feels redundant to me. And I feel often it's same thing I said about Gyökeres. I feel people have a feeling about the team. They see a really powerful thing happen, whether it's someone pushing someone out of the way or someone burying a penalty or whatever it might be, and they go, "That's what I need." I know what you mean, and I want that power too, but I want it in different ways.
I will also say, like Aston Villa, statistically, in terms of central progression, I think they're top in the league, but that's because they don't play with out-and-out wingers. Yeah. Right? They don't play with them, and I think there's a little bit of a skew there as well. So,
Lucien Agume.
I don't know anything about him, to be honest.
I will put this here. It does depend on the money, but because I think it will be cheap, actually. because I think it'll be cheap. I'm more and more interested in it. In terms of someone who is like almost like a sweeper. I think if you haven't watched him play, maybe similarities to Partey in terms of just like the economy of the touch, and just getting it forward. Like he literally just wins it back and plays it forward. That's probably in terms of that sort of
About off the
consistent,
ball, like
consistent stuff. But I would say if Partey's someone who's gonna sort of, I guess the octopus thing, he's going to put his leg around you. Agume just lands in the challenge perfectly every time. Like it's really impressive. The way he wins the ball. He's more, he has a physical quality to him, but he just sweeps across you and just nicks the ball. He's really, really good. He's not the best going forward. He's not going to offer us like masses in the final third. That would take some big coaching stuff to unlock, let's say, shots from the edge of the box and certain things that Partey does. So he's not going to start for me. But if Thomas Partey leaves, if Lucien Agume is available for 20 million, 15 million, something like that, which I'm not sure he would be, but if he was, that would be a really, 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 really smart signing, because physically, in terms of when the spaces open up, he can run. That's the stuff I'm looking at. If I'm trying to sign a Carlos Baleba for 90 million, I'm getting the ball winning qualities of Agume, I'm getting the defensive reading of Onana, and I'm getting something further forward as well. I think Agume is just a bit more. He's just sturdy. He's kind of, where's Marino best? If you just get Marino in that left half space, comfortable on the ball, he's going to deliver some stuff for you, and that's Agume. So it's not. This is someone who I would put as squad number 23, 24. I'm just worried about the legs in this team, and that's where I put him.
Said it many times. I said it about Mikel Merino. It's like Mikel Merino. It's the dichotomy in terms of like higher up, some really good stuff.
Yep.
Even outside the box, deeper areas, brother. Ooh. It's like. Yeah. But I think
to be fair, sorry, just to say, I don't want us to think I'm saying Agume like couldn't get better or couldn't improve, but the idea that he's going to come in and displace displace Rice, sorry, is just not fantasy.
The final third stuff for me right now is irrelevant, right? Exactly. So is he someone like a guy who offers that athleticism in the middle of the park who can cover space?
Yeah,
well, that is exactly something Arsenal need in their team. So the final third things,
he's got this, like I said this on when we did the scouted, but I've seen it since when I'm watching him. He's just got this like presence to him. When he's deep, it's almost like he's scared of the second half. He just doesn't want the ball there. He's just like, I'm going to win my ball. I'm going to win my duels. I'm going to cover the space. I'm going to make sure my team don't concede. You guys go do whatever you want to do up there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I've said it before. I said it to you and George just before this. I think it was actually Liverpool game. I said it to George, where I was really worried about our midfield in terms of if Declan Rice is not there. And we looked at the volume of minutes and the responsibility that Declan Rice is given. I worry about that midfield in terms of the energy and what ripple effect that has in not just in transition moments, but also in the press. You know, so like I think that's a big need for this window. I feel like Arsenal are trying to kind of like cover it with a Thomas Partey extension, and that would stop it. I'd say any other central midfielders coming into the club. But I think that's a risky move.
Yeah. Might have to speed up a touch just because of time. Xavi Simons. I'll be real. I've seen comps and highlights. I've never really watched him.
Yeah.
Like I've seen him, ghosting in and getting nice goals and looking very technical, very silky. But I'll be so real. I haven't watched enough of him.
I'd say he's like you can draw similarities to Eze, right? So if we're putting Eze there, I think Xavi Simons should be slightly ahead because I think he's got more to his game. Now again, it's interesting because like I'd say I've not watched Xavi Simons enough, and that's despite the fact that I've watched a fair amount of 90s of Leipzig now, and it's because like your eyes are focused on Sesko. So you don't see some of the things that Xavi Simons does, but they're similar types. So I think it's good to put him around there. If we're putting Eze there, then so.
Barcola.
Yeah. See, again, that for me is it does depend on money.
It does,
but he's going towards the right. Yeah, he's ahead of Nico Williams. So, and I put him below. Like he should be a little bit lower, like level on, maybe even lower than Nico Williams actually.
Sort of here.
Yeah, like vertically. Yeah, that's it. Around there.
Yeah. It's a player.
My type of winger to a T.
Yeah, just it's leggy, just like wants to embarrass you. Like, yeah, I really like Barcola. Every time
Kills you in a running game. Like,
yeah,
kill you.
he's just like transition killer. It's really, he's really impressive. Really impressive. I think there's obviously stuff to iron out, but how old is he?
22, I think.
You know what I mean,
mate, he's a Jurgen Klopp forward, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's like for me,
he's a Wenger forward actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a slight, maybe because of the height, there's a slight Gakpo to him, but he's more fluid. Gakpo's a little bit stiffer, I think. Barcola's more, he's got that slightly sort of, I don't want to say like continental dribbling style, just like very just sort of, but he can, mate, yeah, he's very good. But it depends on the money. It depends if we can get him. He's the sort of player who like a situation might occur. And actually this is the sort of thing that like I spoke about in the video about Rodrigo. If a situation occurs where Bradley Barcola is available, I would be gutted if he left PSG this summer but didn't go to us. Yeah. That's how I'd feel if we didn't get
at least not raise the question.
Yeah. I'd be gutted. He's a fantastic player. Hugo Ekitike.
Again, I've not watched much.
He wouldn't be too crazy in terms of money, I don't think. The reason I put him there is not because he's a bad player. It's a similar thing to Morgan Rogers, but probably need him slightly more. Actually, maybe that's unfair. Maybe I'll put them the same. He's just a bit too much like Havertz for me, and not in this. They're not the same, but really good. Like technically, really really good. Like really good feet. But his best when I watch Ekitike, the best things he's doing are dropping out, one touch around the corner. It's like a run to create some space for someone. It's all that stuff.
Closer to a Jesus than out and out on the last line type.
Yeah, he's not a channel runner. He's not like a box dominator in that sense. So like he's a very very good forward. He's a very good forward. I see him closer to a Havertz personally. That's just how I see him. So it's not about the player. It's just like I just don't see it.
No, we're not doing this. Get him on. Just absolutely not.
Alejandro Garnacho is coming absolutely nowhere near my club, and I'll tell you why. Even if I liked the talent, even if I did, his attitude stinks, and you can smell it on him a mile. You can smell it on players a mile. I watched this video of him middle fingering a fan who'd come all that way because he was filming him.
Yeah, he's not good, mate. He's not good.
Gehi.
Okay, right. I'm pretty big on the Guehi links personally. It does depend on money, but I'd certainly move him.
If we could do it.
Nate, honestly, he solves a lot. Both left centre back, right centre back, very comfortable in the middle of a free as well. Done it for England. Box defending, very underrated as well. Got a good ping as well with his right foot. Those switches. He's a very very good player, and stylistically would suit very well at Arsenal as well. And again, when you're talking about Saliba minutes, managing that workload, Mark Guehi does that. When you're talking about cover at left centre back, if a situation arises where we have an injury crisis, he gives you that as well.
Yeah,
he solves so much, and he's got 1 year left on his deal as well.
Yeah, that's the really good point. It's basically if he's willing to come.
Exactly, and in a World Cup year as well.
Yeah,
if he's a smart guy, I'd be advising him not to go to Arsenal.
Same.
So
don't go to Arsenal this year.
Because if he goes to Newcastle, he'll start.
Yeah,
he starts. So
I agree. Really, really, really good player. Really, really good player, and also and that sort of line leader. And I think whenever you hear about him in England, it's always about how like he's a proper like uncle character. Like he's really like calm. Like everyone flocks to him and stuff. So yeah, good.
Played every game in the Euros. He was one of England's best performers.
He was. Zubi. He's going to Madrid, mate. So
we
got it done. We got it done. There's no way that. Where would you, if we weren't linked at all, or maybe we'd had like very tentative links, say the similar links like Semenyo. There's a couple of people saying, where would you put him?
I'd be putting him towards the right. I'll tell you why, because I've been educating myself and watching more and more games.
Yeah, I'd put him back.
Honestly, he is perfect for what Arsenal need. It's like the weaknesses that Declan Rice has, like the big ones. We're talking about using Declan Rice in the way that we want to use him, right? Declan Rice back to goal. I mean, you saw it in England. You've seen it at times in which, team press is high. You've seen it at Arsenal as well. Declan Rice is going to play the wall pass. He's not going to be able to escape. He's not that type of player right now, and I don't think he'll ever become as good as someone like a Zubimendi in that aspect. Zubimendi mitigates the flaw Declan Rice has there. What's Zubimendi's big flaw is when the game becomes stretched, that's where he can struggle. Yeah. I'd argue that he's very underrated out of possession anyway. Yeah. But when the game does length, the distances just become significant. Yeah. Declan Rice mitigates that of Zubimendi. It's such a complementary pair, and also I think I'm really excited about this midfield next season with Rice, Zubimendi, and Odegaard. I actually think, we can talk about it on the pod. I think we're not putting enough emphasis on the fluidity of this midfield three, and we're focusing so much on Odegaard, being higher. He's going to be higher. I don't think it's always going to be that. It's always going to be the case there. I think you're going to see some serious rotation there. Yeah.
We spoke about Rice over to the right as well. I think I talked about this the other day. I think there's some kind of link fatigue here because we've had that name for so long. If he dropped now, I want the response to it would be very, very different. Really excited about it. Got Gyökeres again for some reason. I don't know why. Stay out of my life, mate.
I think I know you put Rodrigo. I think we've got to put Rodrigo a bit up, to be honest.
Nah, mate. Honestly, because I had if we paid 105, I'd be alright with it. When you get to 110, 120, no, that's too much. But 100 million, couple over, I'd be alright. I'll do that for you. Mohamed Kudus.
Again,
this is a that. It's there for me. It's like maybe there's
I'd be shifting it. I'd be shifting it towards Rodgers. What does Kudus solve for Arsenal?
Well,
let's say he comes in.
I do think there's versatility in various different positions, and like that cover for Saka thing. I think he can help with the carrying without necessarily having to buy a Morgan Rogers profile over long distances. I think, but yeah, it's literally if it's £100 million, I'm just not even.
He doesn't solve the list that I had before this window. Personally, we're talking about a Saka backup, let's say, easing the workload there. I maintain it. I think Ethan Nwaneri can do that, but you have to allow him to flourish. You don't give him the role stylistically the same as Saka. I've said it many times. Yeah. And I think that's what I'm saying. I think Ethan Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly have changed my thought process on what Arsenal do in this window. That's how big the impact they've given.
No, that's fair.
So yeah, he's a top player. He's a top player.
Yeah. Second to last, Anthony Gordon.
Again, I'm very, very big on Gordon. Depends on money for sure. I think the fee they're looking for is like upwards of 80 million, and I think that's just.
In terms of wing targets, is that what I'm saying?
I'm
currently saying Rodrigo. We're basically saying Rodrigo, then Barcola, then Nico Williams, then Leao, then Semenyo, then Gordon. I think Gordon's higher for me.
See, for me, Gordon would be higher than Leao. I would rather Arsenal get Barcola than Rodrigo, personally. So,
you'd rather Arsenal get Barcola than Rodrigo?
Yeah.
Wow. So you put him further up?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's why I don't agree with where Rodrigo is personally, but
okay.
But yeah, it's like
we watched him for a Scout episode recently. I really like Gordon.
Yeah, he's top.
I really like him. Like just the quality again on, and this is something that we're looking at for all of our wingers, but the quality on the dribble to change direction at speed to frighten defenders. His off the ball running, like his running lines and stuff are really, really good. I saw it when I watched at the Emirates. That his crossing isn't good enough. George highlighted this to me. His crossing is nowhere near good enough. But if he can sort himself out, there's a couple of technical things we spoke about on the Scouted. But if he can sort himself out, he's gonna
He's a top player.
Really exciting area of the pitch, to be honest.
I think I would. I think I'd cap it at 60 million. Though.
Yeah,
yeah. Like I think 80 million is too much.
Yeah.
For Gordon.
Final one, Jamie Gittins, if he doesn't sign for Chelsea.
Do you know what? I think it depends on money for sure. And again, because I've not watched much of Leao, I'd put him ahead of Leao. Like recently, I would put him ahead of Leao.
Ahead of Leao?
Yeah, I've not watched enough. I've watched more Gittins.
I'd put him about there.
Okay, so it's like small differences. But...
Yeah, he's a brilliant dribbler. He's a fantastic dribbler. He's my issue with him is he's a fantastic dribbler, but you can push him out of games. But the issue with Rodrigo is you can push him out of games, but if you put him on the inside, you're dead. And if you have Gittins on the inside, he really has to stay on the wing because that's where the spaces are. I think when he comes inside, his game doesn't pop for me. Mm-hmm. It's more about getting him isolated 1v1 out wide, and he is fantastic. I don't know how he takes the jump. My thing with Gittins is I can't quite I don't have for example, Nico Williams, you sort out your shot placement, you sort out your shot technique, you're going to explode. Like he does everything right. Everything right.
Really? Do you think?
Yeah. Oh, mate. Taking shots in terms of literally dribbling off the side. Hang on. Dribbling off the side, getting inside, and before he has the shot, I think he does almost everything right. Should he take the shot on? Question. How he takes the shots? Question. But in terms of creating separation for shots, mate.
Oh, you're just talking specifically shots?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought you were saying if Nico Williams does that, then he's sorted.
No. He's got other issues as well.
Yeah.
But my point is with Nico Williams, my point is the explosion comes when that happens. I can be like, there it is. With Gittins, I'm like, yeah, really, really good dribbler. I don't see you scoring 30 goals a season though.
No, that's fair.
So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Looking at it now. It's quite a lot to digest.
There's a lot to digest. Chat, let us know what you think of that list. Is there anyone I would love to see? What we normally do is we write challenge and then move X. We used to do this. I'll put a little thing in the chat. Move X to Y because Z. Basically, something like that. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that though. Be interested to see if there's any challenges from the chat. But you put Barcola instead of.
As in, I'd want Barcola more for sure. Yeah, and I think Rodrigo does. Yeah. I think they all depend on money, to be honest. I do believe they do. So.
Yeah, but I guess that when it's dependent, that's a release clause. He's not going to be crazy money because of Leipzig. He's not going to be crazy money because of Villa. For me, the talent's so good that's what it is. Maybe Barcola should be more like this because it's if it was 100 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Maybe Barcola should be more there. Nico Williams is someone who it really is right up there in terms of depends on money.
It is honestly, if he dropped his wage demands.
Yeah,
it's a different story.
I've said this before with players. I find it really bizarre when if wages is all that's prohibiting you playing at the very, very top level. I understand you've got a short career, you've got to maximize your career earnings, and I completely get that. You've got people around you, whatever. Okay, cool. Get the bag, get your money, but go to the best club because if you can find an agreement. Let's say you're asking for 300 grand and Arsenal want to pay you 220. If you perform. Within about 6 months, they'll be talking about a new contract.
Yes.
So I don't get this, and you'll be on the best wages that you wanted, but at the club you want. So I really don't understand the way that when it's Osman or whoever it is just won't budge. I find it odd.
See, doesn't that give you a bit of the ick as well? That's what's really because it's okay. What information do we have in front of us right now in terms of Nico Williams to Arsenal? It's the fact that he won't compromise his wage to come at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Then should we be going for him? I don't think we should. Let's say that is concrete, out and out. That is what Nico Williams thinks. move on. Like, because I don't want a player who's not motivated, to join and is like strictly thinking of it from a financial point of view. Now, if that is his mindset, fair enough. Like, who am I to judge a player in terms of how they view their career, etc. But from an Arsenal point of view, I find that quite icky. If that is the case, which it seems likely because every single report keeps stating it, just move on. There's so many players in the world. Like, there's so much talent out there. Like, it's a bit disappointing though, to be honest. Like, from a footballing perspective, and like, what's stopping me from like really wanting you is your wage.
And it's just it seems silly that also like, bro, what's the difference between 18 million a year and 20 million a year? Like, really? Like, really, what is the difference? What's your lifestyle difference?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's like that's how, like, and I'm not like defending it. It's like that's how we think, because we're not going to touch that money ever in our life.
That's what you think, mate.
I won't be touching that money ever, right? So whereas they have
EDK to the moon.
Whereas they have like they have like they understand like that situation and. It's a different mindset, isn't it? So,
I actually buy this challenge. By the way, I can't live with myself if I have Gordon ahead of Leao.
Okay.
I can't live with that. Just talent wise, like, even if I can have feasibility issues or question marks about them as players, I can't have that. Any challenges? Have you
any others that are?
Probably can't see them on this blimmin' stream thing. Although, to be fair, I will say Forder saved us. He gave me the name of this thing. Again, Forder saved us.
Forder is,
He gave me the name of the stream thing. I very quickly paid £200. I've now got to get a refund on. God's sake. The things we do for you people. One more challenge, Rohan, before we finish?
I've got one from Joshua. He says, moving Agume down because he's quite cheap. I don't mind that, actually.
Getting Agume down because he's cheap. Yeah, I get.
I mean, how much is he really?
I guess my point is more with that. It depends on the money, because like if he is, it depends if he's cheap. If he's cheap, you do it. So it does depend on the money. Does that make sense?
See, this is where this y-axis is. It's a bit like.
Yeah, it's a bit complicated.
It's a bit techie, but it looks nice.
Thank you. I didn't make it. There we have it. The quadra. Whatever we called it, axiom of doom of Arsenal links. I hope you enjoyed that. There it is. Take screenshots, laugh at us, do all that good stuff. Oh God!
I'll tell you what. This is probably one of the most. I don't feel like nervous for streams. Never. I felt a bit overwhelmed today, to be honest.
Oh mate,
I felt very overwhelmed.
Yeah. Stressful at the top of the stream.
I didn't even do anything.
Apologies for apologies for the top of the stream. We got there in the end. I blame StreamYard.
Are they still down? Actually, let's have a look.
StreamYard. Imagine if it's just been fine for like an hour. We just haven't.
Fine? Guess what?
Is it fine?
It's fine now.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Classic. Listen. We'll finish there. Thank you for sticking with us through some technical difficulties. Hope you enjoyed the content regardless. We have a Nico Williams Scouted coming tomorrow. We have a little bit of announcement for the YouTube members and patrons. Look out for that. I think I might post that tonight. We have... what else do we have? We had a new roundup show yesterday. So James is going to be getting guests from the world of Arsenal to come onto the kind of podcast, which is nice. A new host, James Clark, AFC James.
My boy.
The boy. But he'll be hosting a show every Wednesday looking at sort of the rumours and the roundups and stuff. Rohan and I are here live every Thursday evening. Got the main pod coming out with just Rohan and I actually this week because George is away on Monday. We're gonna have tons of fun on the Cannon Podcast. As always, yes, baby.
We'll sort this mic out as well.
We'll sort the mic out. Thank you all for being here. Apologies, it was a bit of a mad stream. I appreciate you all as always. I always see the same names. You guys are loyal, good people. We love you very, very much. Rohan, anything to say before we wrap up?
Nothing, just a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. It's been a bit of a nightmare, but the stream was good.
But we made it, and we made some good content despite all. I did. We made some good content despite all odds. Had some good conversations, and that's what matters here on the Cannon Podcast. Not how you start, It's how you finish.
It's the journey.
Like I said, what is more important, the journey or the fucking destination, guys? The company. I tricked you.
See, you're moving a little bit towards pep.
It's not.
It's not.
It's got worse.
You're moving too
worse. Bye, everyone. Love you. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for keeping Arsenal.
Tens of thousands of football fans came to Highbury. Electrifying.